Hi, my name is Gary. And I'm a grateful compulsive overeater. I weigh and measure 3 meals a day from the gray sheet. Turn those meals over to a sponsor. I don't eat anything other than what I've committed, and abstinence is the most important thing in my life, without exception. And I guess, as I mentioned a little while ago, it's been a long time that I've been doing this. But I've always also viewed it that I just have one day. And I still think of it in those terms. When I wake up in the morning, I make a commitment that I'm going to be abstinent today. And I don't think about the years that I have been doing it. I don't think about what I'm going to do tomorrow. I just think about what I'm going to be doing today. And one of the things that from early on, what was it like before? Well, what it was like before I got abstinent, and I still remember it very, very clearly. It was really like living, I guess, like a gerbil on a wheel, okay, inside a little cage. And that was really what it was very much like, because my life consisted of going on diets. And for the most part, those diets actually worked. Rarely did I get down to my goal weight, but the diets worked. I lost the weight, okay, or most of the weight, okay, and then I went right back on again. One of my first sponsors had given me an assignment to figure out, how much weight I had lost and gained. And I was literally able to account for over 2,000 pounds over the years that I had lost and gained. Okay. And that's insanity. That's pure, complete insanity. Certainly when I came into Gray Sheet, insanity, step 2 was one of the things that I had an issue with. Okay. I mean, I had a career, I had a business, I was a reasonably functioning person in society. I was just fat. Okay. I mean, come on. There's got to be a simple solution to that. Okay. And it certainly didn't mean that I was insane. But as I started working this program, and I came to realize that exactly what I was doing really was insane. Part of the reason why I came into these rooms was, I think it was after my father's 3rd heart attack. I've seen pictures of him when he was a young man, and he wasn't overweight, but my entire life, I never knew him not to be overweight. Okay, sometimes a lot more, sometimes a little bit more, but always overweight. He finally died after his 12th heart attack, but I came in after his 3rd one. Okay, and I remember a big part of the reason why I came in was we looked a fair amount alike, and I could see where I was going. Okay, I could see where I was headed, and it was just a matter of time. The other reason that I came in, which was far more practical and realistic, was the fact that I had gotten to a point where I had outgrown really all of the clothes that I had at the time. Okay, now I did actually have one suit that fit me, sort of, but it had kind of stretched with me over the course of a bunch of years. A bunch of months, I guess, actually. And one of the things that I used to think about was, I really should have, in department stores, how they have the little circular discs that separate the sizes. I thought I should have that in my closet, okay? Because I had, heaven knows how many different sizes of things in my closet. And I would, on a day-to-day basis, I would never know. And I had no perception in reality of who I was. I remember times thinking, yeah, I'll put on those pair of pants. Okay. And I couldn't get them over my thighs. Okay. But somehow or another, I thought that they were going to fit fine. Okay? And I don't have that. And I haven't had that for years and years and years. I go into my closet. The sizes have stayed the same for heaven knows how long. Okay. And, if I want to wear something, I pick it out because I want to wear it, not because I'm going to fit into it. One of the things that early on that people said to me to do, and it was really, really hard in the beginning, was they said, give away your fat clothes, because you need to close the door on that. Okay. And I think I was probably 8 months abstinent before I really said, I'm going to do that, because I don't ever want to return to what it was like before. So I gave, but I have to say it was one of the hardest things I ever did, was giving away those fat clothes, because at some level it meant realistically I was giving up that life. Okay. I don't know that I totally understood that at that point in time, but the symbolism of it, as I think about it now, is really clear to me. When I came in, I came in because, as I said, in no small part, I needed to lose weight. I did what I had always done so many times in the past. Okay. I'm a dieting expert. Okay. I did every single diet that was available up until the point in time that I came into these rooms, with the exception of anything that required me to join a group. The only reason I didn't join the groups was because the groups, things like Weight Watchers, required that I get on a scale in public. Okay. And that was absolutely out of the question, because amongst other things, I never told the truth about what my weight was. If you're 100 pounds overweight and you shave 20 pounds off, nobody notices. Okay. But somehow or another, it meant something to me to say that I was 20 pounds less. Heaven knows why. Okay. Again, that's the insane psyche of the active compulsive overeater, is that I behave that way. And from what I've learned over the years, I'm not unique in the fact that I behave that way. Many of us did. So I did what I always did in terms of going on a diet. Okay. I had to prepare for that. Going on a diet was always going to be difficult. It was going to be punishing. And the way you prepare for that is at least the way I prepared for it, is I binged. So I committed to myself that I was going to go on a diet, but that would be Monday. Okay. And that meant over the weekend, I was going to binge. And then Sunday night, right before I went to bed, I was going to weigh myself. And then I would weigh myself again when I got up in the morning, and I've lost a few pounds. And then I would plot out in my head, or sometimes I'd actually draw graphs as to exactly how much weight I would lose over how much period of time. And by God, in a month or 6 weeks, I'd be down to go weight. Of course, none of that ever worked that way. But again, one of the definitions of insanity is repeating the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And that was me. I was expecting a different result. But what happened this time was I wasn't able to go on that diet. I started at, first thing in the morning, and within 2 hours, I was binging. And I'd gotten to a point where I literally could not go more than 2 hours, 3 hours at the most maybe, without taking sugar into my body. It was pure agony. And it happened over and over and over again. At the time, I was living on Long Island. I was working in Manhattan. The office building that I worked in had a newsstand at the lobby level, and that newsstand sold all of the items that are on the gray sheet that are in the category of these are things we don't eat. Okay, and I would go down to, my office was on like the 45th floor of that building. I would go down to the lobby. I would then buy $10 worth of junk. Okay. And as I was buying it, I would be saying to myself, this is the very last time in my life I will ever buy this. Okay. Not anything grandiose, like, maybe I'll give this up for today. Okay. Rest of my life. And 2-3 hours later, I'd be back down doing exactly the same thing. And this went on for 3 days. And I remember on that Wednesday night, I finally picked up the phone.
All right, it's 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Denise. Okay. I finally picked up the phone and I called someone who I knew from another 12-step program, who I saw melt away over a period of about 6 months. And I called him up and I said to him, Leo, I've seen you, I've asked you what you were doing. And you said, when I was ready, we'd talk. Well, guess what? I'm ready. So he said to me, well, you're in luck. There's a great meeting tomorrow night in a hospital. I was hoping, I knew it was going to be a 12-step thing, but I was hoping it was going to be next week was the meeting, not tomorrow night. But I said, okay, I'll go to this meeting. And I did. I went to the meeting. It was it was an anniversary meeting. Somebody was qualifying for 1 year. And there were two people qualifying. Their sponsor had 3 years at that time. And I remember thinking to myself, it's not possible. Nobody can be on a diet for a year. And certainly nobody can be on a diet for 3 years. However, they talked about something that was really strange to me. They talked about not weighing and measuring their bodies. They talked about weighing and measuring what they were putting into their bodies. And I thought, this is kind of interesting. I think I might be willing to try this. So at the end of the meeting, I went up to the speaker's thing and I said, could I have a gray sheet? And they said, do you have a sponsor? Wrong answer. I said, well, no. And they said, well, these come with sponsors. So I had to go get a sponsor. Person who I got for a sponsor was the last person in that room I think I would have picked. He was a construction worker from Brooklyn. He insisted that I turn over dinner, which I hadn't eaten yet, which I had no intention of eating. I was going to stop at the half dozen fast food places between that meeting and my house. But he was insistent, and I finally just said, the hell with it. Said, okay. I turned over a meal that I had no intention of eating. And then I got into my car and I drove past every one of those fast food places, went home and made that ridiculous meal that I had turned over. I still cannot offer any rationale for that other than grace. And I am so grateful that I got that grace. And then to top it all off, I called him at 6 o'clock in the morning, which is when he, when I committed to calling him and turned over my food for the next day. I came in here with a 3-part disease. I think I still probably have them all, okay, at different levels than they were then. The physical part, the gray sheet took care of that. Extra weight melted off me, literally like spring snow. The emotional and the spiritual aspects of this program took a lot longer. It took a long time for me to recognize that not only were the steps going to help, which they did, okay, but that I needed professional help. And I got therapy only because of the fact that I had developed enough clarity in these rooms to realize that I needed therapy. Okay, and I'd done therapy before. It had been a waste of my time and my money and the therapist's time. Okay, and doing therapy after I got abstinent made a huge, huge difference in me because I was now working on my issues, not on my weight. And the third part of this program is spiritual. And I came in an avowed atheist. I really believed that the only difference between atheists and agnostics were that the agnostics didn't have the courage of their convictions, so they were hedging their bets. But we atheists knew what the truth was, okay, and we were proud of it, okay? And I went through years of having a hard time with this, with the whole higher power concept. I used to say my higher power was the doorknob, okay? And people would put up with my garbage, okay? And I'm grateful for that. And one day I was talking to my sponsor, turning over my food and, just generally discussing program with him, and different sponsor, by the way, at this point. And, what I said to him was, Mel, I'm having a real hard time with the spiritual part of this program. And he said to me, do you want me to tell you why? And when somebody says that to you, it's always, you're going to hear something you don't want to hear. And I finally said, yes, I want you to tell me why. And he did. Okay. And he said to me, the reason you're having problems with the spiritual part of this program, Gary, is because you're too busy playing God. Okay. So if I could have reached through the phone and strangled him, I probably would have tried. Okay. And I recognized him. And the reason for that was that, and I've learned this over, okay, I'll wrap it up, Denise. And I've learned over time that when I have those strong emotional reactions, it's because I'm hearing is the truth, and it's a truth that I don't want to hear. I'm grateful to this program, and I'm grateful to all of you because I do this a day at a time, but I don't do it alone. And I'm grateful that I have all of you to do this with you. Thank you.